I'm joined today with Tim Welsh, CEO of Nexus Strategy here at FSI OneVoice. Tim, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks, Shannon, for having me. Look forward to the conversation.
Me as well, because I always enjoy talking to you because you always come out with great insights. So let's talk a little bit about what you've heard here at FSI. What stood out to you?
Well, this is a broker-dealer conference, and broker-dealers are in a very interesting regulatory environment. So you can imagine the content is pretty heavy towards those topics. I think the interesting thing today was really the SEC's new marketing rule, which is creating quite an opportunity for advisors to use testimonials for the first time. But it's also a lot of confusion around what they can do, what they can't do. I think the industry is still out there trying to find a way forward on all these issues. But I think ultimately, it's the venues like this that get people talking that I think we'll get some pretty good answers out of it. But in the meantime, it's going to be a great opportunity for advisors to be able to leverage these new tools and platforms to get their story out there broadly in the industry.
So I always have to talk tech with you, especially when we're at events. And the industry is really at a point where advisors need to embrace technology or grow or get out or reinvent or die, for lack of better terms. Where are we and where are we headed?
That's a fantastic question. And I think the good news is that the tools and the choice and the flexibility is there. So even the smallest advisor can run a very profitable business. On the other hand, as you grow and get bigger, scale becomes more important. You need to have a bigger footprint. You need to bring in more operations, more tech, more people, process, all of that good stuff. And that starts to eat into profits and overhead. And so ultimately, you get to we call them tweeners, where you've made it to this level, you're very profitable, but to get the next level, those next 100 clients, those next 4 advisors, you need to invest back in the business. And that's a pretty daunting recipe for anyone to make that decision when they've been at this for a few years. So I think those tweeners are really the ones who are most engaged in this conversation. So I definitely think that, somewhere around that $500 million to $750 million mark, that is sort of the go or no-go zone. For those who want to double down and go for it, the energy, the capital's there, great financing, great opportunities. However, for others, that's maybe too much to take on, too much work. They want to, maybe downshift a little bit. And that's why we're seeing such a surge in mergers, acquisition, consolidation, really being driven by not only age and succession, but also, do I build it or join it?
So what does it ultimately take, and what is the threshold to be a viable player in the space right now then?
It depends on your definition of success. As I mentioned, the solo advisor who has a fantastic lifestyle, has 20 clients, makes them happy, meets their goals, maybe that is the definition of success. Maybe we should all aspire for that. On the other hand, to really be able to get that scale, to drive it, ultimately we are getting into the billions of dollars of assets under management and a real vision. Now you're thinking about building a brand, being recognized in your marketplace as well as nationally. Obviously, business is not usual anymore. We can work from home. We can have our advisory practice anywhere, which opens up new markets for us. And ultimately that specialty, that niche focus really translates well in an online environment. So I don't want to give you a non-answer here, but what I will say is that it's really more driven by the owner's vision, partnership, who you want to be when you grow up. But in the meantime, all models work. That's the beauty of the independent space. It's fragmented for a reason, and I think it always will be because of that.
And you hear a lot in this industry, and advisors have been beaten over the head with it a little bit, that they need to grow and scale. But I've seen a lot of choice paralysis. RIAs are really looking for that Goldilocks solution of not too much, right. Too much. So what is that perfect solution for folks when it comes to tech?
I always say go back to the fundamentals. Like, who are you as a practice? Which clients are you serving best? Who are your A clients? Make a list of those. What's common to them? And say, okay, let's get more like them. Let's not have the 80-20 rule. Let's have the 20-80 rule so we can really focus in on that niche and really perfect our practice, perfect our pitch, perfect our content, perfect our approach to financial and wealth planning. And that becomes the core focus there. So if you can get more of those clients and less of the other ones who maybe are not perfect for your fit, that requires a lot of guts to perhaps fire a client. Nobody wants to do that. But that's really where they have to kind of be in that zone. But the good news is on the technology side, we've got small, medium, large, extra large, and super. You can get any system you want. So I don't think there really is that threshold that you need to get to. The good news is that tech is evolving, choice is here. It really comes down to who you are as a business person, who you want to be, and how you want to serve your clients.
And We've heard a lot about personalization when it comes to either your technology stack, how advisors are servicing their clients, but how are they supposed to balance personalization and scaling all at the same time? It's a pretty big ask.
Absolutely, and it's almost like those are two competing priorities. And we sort of call it the personalization at scale. Can you get there? Can you tailor portfolios with an ESG tilt for this client over here, and then for other ones who don't want to have that perhaps in their portfolios? How do you manage to that? It really does become a challenge. I think the fantastic news is with the rise of direct indexing as an example, new trading, rebalancing platforms are available to be able to give you a dashboard. It's almost like you're flying a jet pilot and you can tweak this one, tweak that one, and be able to really hone in on what is important to that client. There are also other ways to think of risk as not just a volatility measure, but also will I run out of the resources when I need them the most? That's a very different definition of risk versus you could lose 20% of your portfolio. Maybe that's okay because I'm a risk taking person, but for those who are in that retirement zone, maybe they can't do that. So that, I think, really focuses the client and the advisor on the right conversation to have. How do I personalize this so it makes sense, it fits you, and I can do it, to your point, at scale with tools and technology? And I think the good news is absolutely those are out there. There are innovations every day because it's driven by a big trend like direct indexing, which will have that sort of waterfall effect on other platforms as well.
Well, Tim, it is always a pleasure talking with you. Thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure, Shannon. Thanks so much for having me.
For Advisorpedia and Flyer Financial Technologies, I'm Shannon Rosic.